National Forestry Authority, and the UNDP, United Nations Development Program, this week on 30th November, launched the NARIS program, the Natural Resources Information System Center, a system designed to mediate deforestation and to watch out for the forest and biodiversity challenges. Welcome to the Viewpoint on West Nile Television, lighting up the region. And today with me in studio is an environmentalist by the name of Anda Masolo. You're very much welcome to West Nile Television.
Thank you so much, West Nile Television, for this invite. I'm so excited and glad.
And the discussion today we talk about is natural resource conservation together with ecosystems and biodiversity. My first question to my guest will be, what entails the NARIS program? What entails the Natural Resource Information Systems?
Thank you so much. As rightly said or asked, NARIS is a new technology and a new program which is introduced by United Nations Development Program, that is UNDP, together with the government of Uganda, which is being championed by National Forestry Authority. This technology is going to work like using the geographical information system. And the geographical information system is a system whereby you can sit in your sitting room or home, and then you monitor activities, or you monitor encroachers, or you monitor poachers from over 1,000 kilometers. So it does not necessarily make you to move or to walk into the forest or parkland. So this system or technology is going to help us as government of Uganda so much, in a way that when somebody is doing illegal activity in a forest, or in a rangeland, or in a park, this person will be monitored right away from the office. And from there you can devise means of encountering them. And this technology is the first of its kind in Uganda. Thank you.
The Viewpoint on West Nile Television, we are broadcasting live from the heart of Arua City, and we are on channel 477 on Star Times. I would like to continue this discussion by inquiring, for the sake of West Nile, what is our current state of forests in terms of the tropical rainforests and the plantation of forests that we have as a region?
Yeah, thank you so much. Before I go to the nitty-gritties of the status quo of our forests in West Nile, I want to give you a background and context of West Nile. The West Nile sub-region was until recently made up of 8 districts, namely Arua, Nebimoyo, Ajumani, Zombo, Yumbe, Koboko, and Maracha. The recent addition of Pakwachi, Madiokolo, and Obongi to its districts lineup not only changed the geographical complexity of the sub-region, but also the way government and other actors address natural resource management challenges faced by the communities. At first, we are called Mayank. This Mayank was composition of 8 sub-districts, 8 districts in West Nile sub-region. But now, because of addition of 3 more districts, the districts of West Nile sub-region have expanded. And the meaning that this expansion is leading to increase in the population. Automatically, the population of our people in West Nile will increase or has increased. And this has also resulted into pressure on the natural resources. I want to be very elaborate on the tropical forests and natural forests in West Nile. West Nile is blessed with only one tropical forest, that is Zoka, tropical forest in Jumani. And another natural forest, which is Mount Kay Forest Reserve in Yumbe and in Koboko. And these two natural forests play vital role in the conservation of the ecosystems. When I talk about ecosystems, these are forests, lakes, and so on. And you know why Zoka is very unique is because of its tropical nature of the forest. And all of us are aware of the challenges that Zoka forest is facing today.
Zoka forest is almost half.
Is almost half. Personally, I visited the forest. I entered inside the forest. The forest is finished. All the mature mahogany trees are cut by loggers. And this is a very, very big challenge for our region. In Mount Kay Forest, as we talk now, it is harboring illegal settlers. And these are people who come all the way from all the West Nile sub-districts. And the purpose of their going to settle in Mount Kay Forest is because of the fertility of the soil. And also, Mount Kay Forest is rich in biodiversity. Biodiversity, bio is life. Yeah. Diversity is living in many or in diverse, which means in the forest ecosystem, you will find the animals, you will find the birds, you will find the plants, you will find water, which is very clean for drinking. So for these reasons, people have decided to leave their ancestral homes to settle in these forest reserves. And the implication is negative. They're emerging a lot of pressure on the forest resources. Thank you.
And in 2004, we had National Forestry Authority being launched by government. And by that time, the purpose of that was to watch over the forests and also to increase revenue, of woodlots. And we saw that in financial year 2004-2005, government revenue from wood and sales of trees rose up from 1.2 billion to 4.5.
Yes.
If you look at OC, if you look at Awang, if you look at Okavu in Zombo districts, those trees have been cut down and have never been replaced.
Yes.
By NFA doing that, wasn't there a substantial plan for reforestation?
Well, in Uganda, forests are divided into 3 parts. And these 3 parts of forest, they are managed by different bodies. It is true NFA was formed in 2004, by Act of Parliament. And the law that provides for its formation is the National Forestry and Tree Planting Act 2003. And this act mandates different actors to manage or to look after these forests. NFA, as a corporate body that can sue and be sued, is responsible for managing 506 central forestry reserves. And the Uganda Wildlife Authority, UWA, is mandated to manage all the forests which are found in the parks, in the national parks.
So, okay, for example, the Awang forest, which is depleted
yes.
in Zombo district, is it under those central reserves?
That is under central reserve,
but since
which is under the mandate of NFA.
What are they going to track there? Because the land there is bare.
Well, government of Uganda developed a deliberate approach. And this deliberate approach was to empower the local community, the business community, the private sector, the civil society organizations to acquire land in this forest. The idea is to replant these trees which were cut. And the first people who acquired this land misused this opportunity. Instead of replanting the trees, they started doing lumbering, cutting, converting the existing trees which they found there into timber and the firewood. So this contravened.
That was aside with the public bidding that government did.
Exactly. So later government stopped this act and said, let us study. And of course, some people planted. They replanted the trees have grown. But for this case of the forest in Zombo, I think NFA, as the lead agency, is supposed to do replanting in this forest which were degraded.
But it's close to 15 years now.
Of course.
Since the last tree was cut, it's over 15 years.
As a representative of government and an environmentalist working in the local government, I cannot talk about NFA's mandate because, as I told you, the National Forestry and Tree Planting Act has mandated different actors in forestry and environment to work to manage their own forest. For us, as local government, we are managing all the local forestry reserves in Uganda. So NFA is supposed to do reforestation in these central forestry reserves. Not only that in Zombo, including the one in Zoka, Mount Kay, Laura, and so on.
Out of the 506 reserves under NFA, how many are in a bad state?
If you take in West Nile, one in bad state is Zoka, Central Forestry Reserve, Mount Kay, Central Forestry Reserve, and yes, in Madiokolo. Almost about 5 or 6 Central Forest Reserves in the Western Nile are facing a lot of pressure and a lot of degradation. So, if the forest ecosystem is depleting, is getting depleted, and that is the life for me and you, because we survive on oxygen. And this oxygen comes from the trees.
Trees, yeah.
So, where are we heading is the question that we need to address.
Thank you so much, Mr. Andama Solo, an environmentalist, and is here on The Viewpoint on West Nile Television today. And our mandate as West Nile Television is to light up the region. COVID-19 has caused a lot of pressure on forests because people shifted from their main economic activities into charcoal burning, into timber dealing, into dealing in firewood. What is the extent of damage that has been caused in the last 2 years to our forests in the land?
It's very great to a higher extent. When COVID surfaced, the lockdown actually made so many things to happen. For example, movement of lorries was minimized to certain level. But later, when the lorries were allowed to move, this made the local people to think very fast and shift their activities on to the natural forest resources, especially cutting trees, converting trees into charcoal. And why? Because they have seen it as an alternative source of income. Because most of the businesses became paralyzed. Yeah. And because we are eating, yes, we are eating food on daily basis, and this is the only source of energy that we use in the whole country, not only in West Nile, but the prices of charcoal went very high in the cities and the urban settings. Therefore, this made all people to look at a charcoal business as a very lucrative business venture. And perhaps that is why in the COVID, most people went into charcoal business. And this has put a lot of pressure on the natural resources. As we talk now, trees like sea nut, which are trees of biological importance, because we use them as we use oil from the sea nut. We consume it for cosmetics and so on. And the law mandates us to conserve and protect these biological and cultural trees. But today, because of the COVID, almost everything is being swept. And in the future, we are going to experience a lot of issues of climate change.
Actually, it is there, and this has caused alterations of weather patterns.
Exactly.
There is an incidence that local governments grant permits to charcoal dealers.
Yes.
How true is that, and is it within the law of this country?
Thank you so much. It is within the law.
To grant permits
in Uganda,
to charcoal dealers?
Exactly. And it is the local governments, through the Department of District Forestry Services, in the National Forestry and Tree Planting Act 2003, the forest officer, the district forest officer, is mandated to issue licenses, to issue movement permits, and forest declaration forms to any forest product, be it charcoal, be it firewood, logs, and even including fruits, wild forest fruits, like wild coffee and so on. So it is within the law. And perhaps we should also look at the gaps that exist. Okay?
There are cases where charcoal is being impounded, and there are cases where some other charcoal dealers are allowed to operate freely. What is the difference in between that?
The difference is when the law says if you want to deal or trade in charcoal, for example, you need to get licenses for selling, for buying and selling charcoal for a period of 1 month per person. And in this case, some people sneak without acquiring the permits. So the difference comes here. When a district forest officer finds your lorry or charcoal without permit, and then automatically it becomes a legal activity or a legal forest product. And in this case, it is impounded. But if you have the permits, you can go with your charcoal up to the last destination without any problem. Yeah.
Now, do these permits permit the charcoal dealers to also cut down the traditional trees like the shea nut and probably other traditional tree species?
Well, there is difference between a charcoal dealer and the person who burns, who cuts the tree and converts into either charcoal or timber. The person who is supposed to cut a natural tree to be converted into charcoal or timber or firewood is that person who is supposed to acquire licenses for burning charcoal. For the person who trades in a forest product, this person is supposed to be issued with the permit and then licenses for selling the charcoal. So that is the difference. So if the people who cut these trees are the local people in the villages, in the parishes, who cut these trees, convert them into charcoal, and later sell them to the business person. Yeah.
Okay. About the issue of permits, please, can you speak to our people in the local language for them to understand the use of having permits?
Our before, ijo amane bijo dware ede jereke tambanga and jere tambanga ede amazako. Government ira mecho mako zira, mecho ba zira, mecho ija zira, but condition ban ba farke ezor kichi alo maka uzizuri bale mu forest office ya musu permit lances on ver lances e de lances do usubo kokobi meno po fe pe minisi muzo makara jezore e ka di kokobi do usu forest department gabo mido mu asegale egu maka ozi pidadi maka eve pidadi indeni dido lances kan ku kokobida e produce labor sabu come together abo ejo next year me maka de ke gba me transport usu the transport usubo mi makadi ki lodi mi move back to forest officer. Forest officer di mune maka mini duri ki bagi si de mini movement permit fe. Movement permit da de me zako muzo fa de ebe. Odozo for example kata de ruwa mi mu makadi be pere Kampala mi district eli ogogo mudiditu. So gerikadia movement permit di me zako. Bazi kamizi kani NFA ya, kani district ya, kani UPDF ya, kani polisi ya, mefada anje mi di da. Di da bo, stambu DFO di maduchi, aya sigin chabe, mi mumi makadi pie pere, parimini uzizore ya. So, afat ikadi yo, anytime gerikadia, ba mi makadi bichi. And baka makadi bibo, makadi michusu diku, pa makadi oksonira, and sende tamina yodi ededra. So, ito man jodare, edile business nga, akota maka, bao, eja, dipimalia, imu government ma office ya, forest department ya, ika mudabo, enja mevu besara mevu be defo ni meza kora de iyo mani nje sarsi diare amadi fe advise ro azini gataro pata mani azingapi afataro bepi jere be dipu maliare orfo.
The Viewpoint on West Nile Television, lighting up the region. I'm together with Mr. Andama Solo, an environmentalist, and today the discussion is natural resource conservation, ecosystems and biodiversity. We will go for a short break and we will be right back. Stay with us.
West Nile TV. May you dare ingomwa.
To either be led and shepherded by Jesus Christ.
Radio Network. He is also with the West Nile Press Association.
Viewer, and welcome to the Viewpoint on West Nile Television.
On the 19th of December 1993, and was ordained a deacon.
That is absolutely fantastic.
Hey, why aren't I up there?
My heart, say you love.
I've watched the Sports Club when that saga of Mbabazi.
West Nile Television is regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Welcome back from that hyper-blazing dance that we had this morning, and it's a lovely morning, I'm telling you. It's a great one with the Sabiti Show on West Nile TV every Sundays that you don't have to miss. I'm telling you, dear artists within West Nile, we are requesting you to bring up your songs. Come running to West Nile TV, bring up your videos so that we can be able to play your videos.
Like I'll always tell you, me I will not get tired. My name is Daisy Kajik. I am for this show, Sabiti Show, live at 9 to 11. Please don't miss here. Don't miss though. We are found at Weather Park Lane, plot 39A, Anyafio, Arua City. But if you want, we can even still shoot Sabiti Show from outside.
Yeah.
We go to Nebi,
exactly.
We go to Pakwach, we go to Zombo, we go to Obongi, we go to
Yume. We can even go to Maracha,
Ajumanido,
Koboko.
Madiokolo.
Yes.
All those places. So, I will still tell you, we are found at West Nile TV. Don't get tired. Sunday, make sure you're fresh. Wake up, freshen up, get the remote. Call the people we said we should call. Who are they?
Yeah, we also have like the artists that we shall be hosting every Sundays. So it all goes to the artist's back. If you're there, you really feel the call of God, you can come and talk to us, and then we can still host.
You can also talk to us on 039194314. Please call, request. We shall get back to you. Our phones shall be here. We shall be reading your requests. We shall be reading all the greetings that you're sending out. And please be a part of us, because without you, it can never be about us. God is big. The far He has brought us. Who would tell that we'll be here? Feta, you first tell your story. Tell your story.
I'm telling you, it's a very difficult one. Since even the pandemic came in, COVID-19, things have been hard, and people have been struggling. Churches were locked down. But this is an opportunity for us to celebrate and thank God together. So we shall be here every Sunday, that you don't have to miss the Sabiti Soul.
And just one secret, we shall also be mourning with you. In this pandemic, like you have said, very many people have lost their loved ones. I have lost many friends, many relatives. And sometimes you just want that pick-up moment. We don't know what you may be going through, but if you've lost a loved one, send in those pictures to our website, or else to our Gmail, that is westniletvstation@gmail.com. Send those pictures, we shall put them on our screens, and we mourn and pray with you right before we go into any other thing on that Sabiti show from 9 to 11. I'll be sharing my story, I'll be sharing about all my testimonies from how far the Lord has brought me. Me, for example, Alufwa, unungeado, anangeyo, kama Yesu odai ye anangeyo. You'll hear the story. Please.
I know you can sing. I can do the humming for you anytime. But very importantly, we shall be here every Sundays, as we have said. But you can communicate to us on our social media platforms. We have a Facebook account, and you can reach us on YouTube. You can still watch our programs on YouTube and other social media platforms.
Now let me tell you about YouTube. YouTube every Sunday 9 to 11.
West Nile TV. Meyuder Ingomwa.
Human settlement is a threat to natural resources, and West Nile region as the biggest host of refugees in this country. I would like our guest in studio today to tell us what is the extent of the settlement of our dear brothers to the natural resources.
Yeah, thank you so much. First and foremost, refugee influx in Uganda started way back in 1960s. Up to date, the country is hosting the largest number of refugees. And the data says 1.4 million refugees, and these are mainly women and children who are hosted in West Nile region. And the influx has impacted the Ugandan population living within the proximity of the refugee settlement areas. Of course, these are called the host community, who are me and you. In 1979, I was already 2 years. Wow. And my parents fled to South Sudan. And because of the war, yeah, we became refugees in South Sudan.
Were you taken on by the refugee agency, the UN refugee agency?
Exactly. And most of our people in West Nile were refugees. Others went to Congo and Sudan.
When did you come back?
We came back around the 86 to 90s. Therefore, the largest refugee influx is this current one of 2016. And this was called an emergency phase. In an emergency phase, environment is not taken as priority because you settle people in the natural diverse, in the nature, where there are natural trees, where there are rivers, and so on. The idea is they are supposed to utilize the existing natural resources for their survival. And in that case, in emergency phase, what is critical is life-saving, giving water and food for the refugees. But later, since environment was forgotten, people utilize it in totality, up to the extent of getting extinct or depleted. When I say extinct, disappearance. Some of the tree species, like ebony wood, poi, they call it poi. These ones which the military people use for caning Batulu. You'll never see them in Bidi Bidi because of their value, of the value attached to the ebony wood. The largest number of refugees as recorded is being hosted in West Nile districts. And this has devastating impact on the natural resources. If you go to Bidi Bidi, if you go to Pagrinya, if you go to Invepi, Madiokolo, to mention, you will find that the natural beauty or the natural trees in these areas are wiped for firewood, for poles, and so on, including grass for touching the houses.
We don't have grasslands that probably people can go and...
You know, those days, nobody would sell grass. You just go, you get grass, you go and use it the way you like. But today, grass is being sold.
Yeah, a bundle of grass is probably 4,000.
Exactly. These are all challenges that our natural resources are facing today.
Because of pressure exerted by human settlements.
Exactly. Because from the data and the analysis that we made, we did rapid environmental assessments in these refugee settlements. And these assessments have given us results. One, in Ibidi, one household uses 2.5 kilograms of firewood for cooking.
Daily or per week?
This is per week. And when you calculate 2.5 by the number of households, you will find that it is a lot of metric tons of firewood. And this comes from the wilderness, from the natural trees. Where the refugees are settled now, you realize that those streams which were flowing, some of them have the volume have reduced, either others are not existing.
What reduces the volumes of running water?
One, it is very poor watershed of that stream or river. If the trees, existed trees, were cut or are cut, it exposes the water into harsh climatic conditions. Water evaporates, by the way. And when there is a tree, it provides shade to the water. So when that tree is cut, the water has to disappear. And as you know, trees play a very vital role in sediment trapping. So if they are cut, there's a lot of siltation. Rain comes, washes the soil into the river or stream, and then the stream gets silted. Yeah. You'll not see water again. And also, this results into, affects the buffer zone and also the water tables. There are so many boreholes which were sunk by partners. Yeah. And if you go right now, most of these boreholes are getting dry. There is no water which is coming because the volume of water that existed has been extracted, used. So because of deforestation, the volume or the water table is going down. And as such, the boreholes cannot yield the water anymore. So they get dried up.
Okay, talking principles of sustainability, let us start with the communities. How is sustainability achievable when it comes to creating alternative economic activities to the communities settling where the forests are?
Good. First of all, when you talk about sustainability, sustainability is supposed to be a two-way, win-win situation. And when you look at the concept of environmental conservation includes taking care of the air and the earth, atmosphere, animals and plants. And if human beings do not take care of this species, you realize that when they are over-exploited, they get disappeared or they get extinct. And therefore, the aspect of sustainability is lost. Because sustainable development is all about protecting the existing resources so that the other generation that comes should find them and should make use of them.
Aren't there economic activities that the population can practice within the forest without necessarily having to cut down the trees?
One of them is the beekeeping. Beekeeping is one of the sustainable forestry activities that can contribute positively to the management of the forestry resources. Also in forestry, communities surrounding the forest, they are supposed to practice, or they are supposed to be given projects of collaborative forest management. Collaborative means communities are brought on board. They are part of the forest management.
Yeah, that is okay.
So that the aspect of sustainability comes automatic. But where communities are barred from managing their own forest resources, that is where the problem comes. Communities have a right to use firewood, those dead woods in the forest, for their livelihood. They can use them, they can sell them to buy their basic needs. They are mandated to obtain those wild fruits, like wild coffee in the forest reserves. I saw wild coffee in Zoka, Central Forest Reserve. And the market for wild coffee in Europe and the Middle East is very high. The price is thrice higher than the coffee that we have. The Arabica coffee and so on, and Robusta. Mushroom is very delicious. And the surrounding communities are allowed to go and pick or collect mushrooms from the forest. By doing so, they feel part of the forest. What is not allowed to be done in these forest reserves is cultivating extensively, because when you cultivate, automatically you need to cut down the tree, or you set the tree on fire. And this is exactly what the practice which the communities are doing in these forest reserves, especially when you go to Mount Kay Forest Reserve. It is almost empty. All the trees are burned, others are cut for practicing agriculture. So that is the ideal situation of collaborative forest management.
One of the principles of sustainable forest management involves demonstrating visionary leadership. How workable is that in achieving?
Leaders like me and you play very vital role in the forestry management. One, as a leader, we need to formulate policies, local policies, which benefit the interest of the local community. As a leader, if you set policies that cannot benefit, that are not friendly to the local community, you find one day all the community will encroach the forest.
Yeah.
And as a leader, you need to sensitize, talk to the community, educate them about the importance of being together with the trees, being together with the animals, being together with the water resources, because these things help us on a daily basis, especially the communities who are rural based. Their livelihood is dependent on the natural resources. As you clearly said, people don't have alternative sources of income. The alternative source of income in the rural areas is farming. And with the impact of climate change, you find sometimes the community, their hands are tied. They cannot dig, they cannot do anything. So what comes in their mind automatically will be to destroy the forest, so that they get firewood, they get timber, and they get charcoal.
In the local language, how demonstrating visionary leadership can lead to forest conservation? Before we go for a break.
Of course, as a leader, you need to be exemplary.
In the local language.
Eo manager diare ama takapi dile karuode. Azinga pe office ya azinga for example TV station diler malia ama che obipini forest kan ko jere pima tambazo ida fazi klili ni kan ko maza kopini ngonero yo manje diare e kadru obi pima dile le ayota mino bariki le madriki ayota obi pima aza kopirarki ayota obi pima aza kopirarki ngoki alo obi masaki party eka party sa party de nizo mimu party limbaoro mi party de ayo ejaro mi party yu si josizu eka adro bipi madile mivu village ya kan kusabu county ya district ya da le mi na vino bipi ne adadaro mi delay by example checking si esa party mi odo party sa me obiki den anemu na mevo kiyo ade aka party sara ade aka mengo sa kandima sa kapaini sa katika sa ma ekwadosi so leba madri exemplary yodi pimalia ale ionje madia modondazi ele alfiri fiaziasi Yumbe district local government ya mamu azi odobo yo madia na balore dilieda le patiki mu adeyo mbauni mu adeyo so ma pari gada asale ne pati sadi si pati da zobo ma pati da li ma school fees ofe ma pati li mani rent ofera ma pati li ma dukane ba so diki benefiti ka dileru mi na ki papini ma ikosi ba azide odoke yodi ne odoke mu pati ma oridu mavu ma ini pati orife dani sende koko so bata pati da sapereke sarsi ma pati is almost ready pati zobo so ikadi delay me aba example the young man in jesarsi imbataro amani Westnile TV maliarare what for
Environmental conservation, ecosystems and biodiversity with a spotlight on the natural resources information systems, and the discussant today in studio is Mr. Anda Masolo, an environmentalist. We will go for a short break and we'll be right back.
West Nile TV. Miyuder Ingomwa.
To either be led and shepherded by Jesus Christ.
Radio Network. He is also with the West Nile Press Association.
Viewer, and welcome to the Viewpoint on West Nile Television.
On the 19th of December 1993, and was ordained a deacon.
That is absolutely fantastic.
Hey, why aren't I up there?
My heart say you love.
I've watched the Sports Club when that saga of Mbabazi.
West Nile Television is regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Television lighting up the region, and that is our mandate to the people of West Nile and Uganda world over. The discussion still continues on environmental conservation, and I will still turn to my guest, and my question is, what are some of the existing environmental laws and regulations which are there to protect the endangered environment?
Thank you so much. Uganda, as a country, is ruled by so many laws. And our president, His Excellency, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, signed so many treaties, agreements, and the protocols regarding the management of natural resources in Uganda.
Including the recent one in Germany.
In Germany, though Uganda was not represented, okay, in COP 26. Yeah, COP 26, yes. And I think later, Uganda also sent its climate change adaptation plan to the COP, though it never surfaced physically on that day. But most importantly are the environmental framework laws and regulations governing management of Uganda, of natural resources. According to National Environment Act number 5 of 2019, part 3, 4, and 5, which talks about the following: the rights. Rights to decent environment. What does it mean? It means every person in Uganda has a right to a clean and healthy environment in accordance with the Constitution of Republic of Uganda, 1995, and the principle of sustainable development. Uganda is implementing the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. And they were 8. This time they have expanded to 17. And the rights to nature. Nature has the right to exist, persist, maintain, and regenerate its vital cycles, structures, and function. It means when you see an animal, don't kill that animal. That is the meaning. The animal has its right.
Yeah. By the way, having depleted these forests, to what extent has it affected the livelihood of fauna?
Many of the animals, the wildlife, they have either migrated or most of them have died. That is exactly what has happened. And when you see a tree, don't just see this tree is beautiful or it is mature. You are going to cut it down. That tree nature has rights. That is why when you cut a tree, the tree falls with a lot of cry. Not only that, Uganda is a member of signed international laws, environmental laws. In 1972, Uganda signed the law governing the biodiversity and the conservation. This was in Brazil, the Rio Agreement. And the UN Climate Summit, Uganda signed. And these are some of the international environmental laws that governs management of the environment and natural resources in the country. And if I am to cite some of the regional treaties or agreements, the Lake Victoria Environmental Project, the fisheries, these are all signed between Uganda and Kenya and Tanzania to protect Lake Victoria and also the aquatic life, the fish and other lives in water.
To a lay person, how can he get to understand these laws that you read out? Is it?
These laws, they are accessible, but not to every Ugandan. Because when you go to public libraries, you will find these books, the laws, in the bookshelves. But for a local lay person, what we normally do is to organize sensitization meetings, and we talk about these laws, especially the law that says if you cut one tree, plant 5. This law is embedded in the National Forestry and Tree Planting Act of 2003. And these are laws formulated by the Act of Parliament. They formulated in the Parliament. And it is our responsibility as leaders to cause awareness to cause environmental education in schools, in public places, in workshops, in meetings, and so on, so that let the local community understand. By cutting a tree, one tree, you must plant 5. And through our district local councils, the councils are mandated to pass tree planting laws to the public. But sometimes you see these laws exist, but some of us, they don't have time to read them. I thank Ajuman District Council. I can't remember the year they passed a law for all the citizens that every household or family must plant 10 trees. And every newly born, even if your wife has given birth to a baby, you need to plant a tree for that baby.
Has it been implemented?
I think when it was first passed, it was implemented. But right now, I don't know now the status.
The community might have relaxed.
Yes. So that needs again to remind the community about such a good initiatives. So that is what is expected out of us. There are also other environmental laws, like the water, the forest policy, the Water Act, the Wildlife Act. These are all laws governing management of the environment in Uganda. Because environment is not only planting trees or growing trees. Environment is a broader concept. It looks at all the things in your surrounding, be it water, forest, soil, air, even the insects, organisms. And built environment includes things like houses that we build, the roads. These are things which are human beings have contributed to their formation. They are called the built environment. And the environment is a broader term. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Junen Wacheke, NTA West Nile Television, Tin Welomwa, Studio Nyige, and Masolo, Nachimajulo Munia environmentalists. Ebe wacho nea shik pagwa kuyen Uganda wacho nea kaitumu yena shell umakipida beach. Thank you so much for enlightening us in the simplest way that a lay person can understand. As we talk diversity, we know that climate change has caused a shift in weather patterns. How can we reconcile biodiversity?
Yeah. Thank you so much. Biodiversity concept is the variety of life on Earth. Bio is a biological term meaning life. Diversity is the existence of so many lives on the earth. For any kind of animal or plant, each individual is not exactly the same as the other. It is just like me and you, we are human beings, we can coexist. But me and you, we are different from other animals.
As we can say, all animals are equal, but others are more equal than others.
Exactly. So, in other words, biodiversity generally described at 3 levels. Yeah. Genetic, species and ecosystem. And the species richness is simply a count of species. Like if there are many frogs in water, they are called species, right?
Yeah.
And the genetic diversity is the diversity or variability within species or community. Like for us human beings, we give birth. Other animals don't give birth. Not so?
Yeah.
So that is our genetic diversity. Ecosystem, this one simply means diversity of a place at the level of ecosystem. Ecosystem is like a forest ecosystem. It has it has two types, terrestrial and aquatic ecosystem. This is if I can still remember my O-level biology. Terrestrial is on land. And what is found on land, you know. Aquatic is in water. It involves the fish, frogs, and so on. Life in water. And biodiversity is affected by climate change. Of course, for example, when the temperatures are very high, you find some other diseases. How do I say? When climate is very high, it results into spread of other diseases. And when climate is low, it also brings other diseases. For example, COVID. When we were in the rain season, the virus of COVID, the spread was very high. But right now, since the temperature is very high, you see cases of COVID are reducing. That is one. That is how climate affects what? And then also in the forest reserves, when temperature is very high, you find it culminates into sometimes wildfires. So wildfires, when the forest gets burned, of course, so many lives are in danger. Some of the animals migrate, others die, and so on. Including even the property. You lose the property. If people set bush on fire and you are not there in your homestead, your properties will burn. And it affects your life, right? So, that is one. The other form of challenge is that when streams or rivers dry, what do you see? You see so many aquatic lives also dying. The fish, crocodile, etc. The frogs and so on. All the life in that the aquatic life perishes. So climate change, in other words, has a lot of impact on biodiversity and ecosystem, as I have explained. And how we can get out of climate change is through changing our actions as human beings If we stop bush burning,
and especially it is around December,
exactly.
January, February,
If we stop,
the dry season.
if we reduce, we cannot stop bush burning completely, because in West Nile, setting vegetation or forest on fire during dry season is like a prestige. You understand? But if we reduce this kind of actions, the emission, the gases that will be emitted into the atmosphere and later will cause global warming will reduce. But if the amount of gases released into the atmosphere exceeds, that is when the ozone layer gets what? Gets torn, gets affected. And the result is global warming. So when there is global warming, we suffer as human beings and also other creatures. So that is the science about the climate change. And in Uganda, 30% of the wetlands have been degraded, have been depleted, have been reclaimed. Or people are using the wetlands for growing rice. And rice releases methane gas, which is very dangerous. It is a dangerous gas.
So should people shift from growing rice in wetlands to upland rice?
To upland rice. And draining wetlands causes decay, decomposition of the vegetation. So again, it releases methane into the atmosphere. Yeah. So when you look at all the wetlands in Uganda, they are reclaimed, meaning that Uganda is a contributing factor to climate change. And we see the results every year. In the eastern region, in Bududa, landslide. The peaks of Mountain Renzori, the ice melts.
We've seen the rising water
level. The rising water level is because the ice from the top of the mountains melts and then results into flooding in Kasese. River Mobuku, for example.
Every time it's raining, the banks.
Exactly. In Obongi, recently, we are not accessing the what? We are not accessing the ferry. It is because the river has burst. Over almost coming to 2 years, the river is constant. And these are some of the challenges that we are facing as a result of climate change.
So how can we, in the long run, how can we reverse that?
It is through our actions as human beings.
Should we plant trees?
We should not only embark on growing trees, because it is not the only durable solution to mitigate climate change. I think one is the attitude of the people must be changed, so that they don't go into destruction of the environment and natural resources. Issues to do with the policy formulation in regard to combating climate change is another. And then, as leaders, we should integrate climate change actions into our daily planning. We have been living climate change issues just in thin air. But this time, in all the sectors, climate change issues are integrated, they are brought forward, and then integrated in the district development plans. So that if I go to sensitize the community on issues of land, I should not forget about telling community about climate change, how dangerous it is going to affect their livelihood. You see people migrating with their cows closer to the river Rhines. It is because of climate change. The streams and those rivers in the surrounding have dried. They are looking for areas where there is water. Perhaps we are saying communities go to the forests to do farming. It could be climate change. Because in the forest we have water, clean water bodies. And this could be one of the factors taking the community to settle in the forest. And as they settle, because of human pressure, the forest is degraded or depleted.
Yeah, as we wind up, in a bid to plant more trees in NFA gazetted areas, do you think the idea of having outgrowers to plant trees in NFA gazetted areas, do you think it is suitable?
I think when you take CFM, collaborative forest management, it is one of the practices that can embrace management of the forests. So, under collaborative forest management, if communities can be allowed to access part of the forest so that they can put their beehives, they can do tree growing, these are environmentally friendly activities that can promote a sustainable management of the forest resources in our district or country.
The solo production scheme, how is its performance in West Nile?
In West Nile, solo scheme existed some time back, but I think it is in very few selected districts. As I talk now in Yumbe, the Solog project is not there. In some districts like Maracha, I think is there, maybe Koboko, and when you take when you talk about Solog, it is a project which is implemented. It is a project which is under Ministry of Water and Environment, but implemented by FAO, Food Agriculture and Organization, and the SPGA. So in West Nile, as I said, it is implemented in some selected districts. Some of the other districts are not benefiting in the project. But that does not mean there are no forestry or environmental projects. There are also other programs. Much as Solog project is not in Yumbe, but there are other programs which are championed by other government agencies and partners, for example. Yes.
The Save Shea Nut movement by Mr. Mustafa Gerima, has it had an impact in trying to conserve the shea nut trees in the region?
Definitely. In Yumbe, I have interacted personally with the Mustafa Gerima. We call him environmental ambassador because of his initiatives
the shea nut.
Of walking over 600 kilometers. And as an environmentalist, I've taken him as a champion. And in not every activity, sometimes I integrate him. I call him, come, let's go for radio talk show in Ribat FM in Yumbe. Let's go and talk about, sensitize the community about shea nut. And I thank him so much. He comes, we talk to the community, and the community in Yumbe, they are very happy because previously they didn't see value of protecting the shea trees and also value of collecting the shea seeds. But since Mustafa came to Yumbe, he has added value. He has made communities rich through selling the what? The seeds, through selling the shea nut products, exactly. And because of his movement, there are communities who have secured machines for extracting the oil.
And value addition.
Value addition. In Igoboro and in Midigo, where shea nut where the shea nut, where the trees are many.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think as West Nilers, we need to support him and embrace his movement by always giving him support and bringing him closer to talk to the community.
Your last word to the viewer?
My last word is that I want to take this opportunity to thank the management of West Nile TV station, and personally I'm very happy and excited because this is my first time to be hosted live and talk to my my community of West Nile. And we come here to talk to you people because you send us to school. And what we have learned is exactly what we have brought to you. And we are guiding you. Give us that support so that we do our work diligently. And we are here to support you in any form of service delivery. Thank you so much. Let us together conserve and protect our environment for sustainable development. Eoman nje diare adu wadufo ambo refer West Nile management ta amadi West Nile TV di udida man opportunity fe pe muzu yo njezi mepie arwa city di muskulu adale epe amati skulu adale mu eyo ni eyo mani oni di le anjere minera eduire engane ezi awadifo emene ambo tualo amareke West Nile TV Ward 4.
Thank you so much. This has been the Viewpoint on West Nile Television, and the discussion was natural, environmental conservation, ecosystems, and biodiversity. My guest today in studio has been Mr. Andama Solo, an experienced environmentalist. Our mandate as West Nile Television is to light up the region. And before I wind up, I would like to inform you that as per Ministry of Health, we have had 6.7 million Ugandans who have already taken the dose of COVID. Let's go and vaccinate and continue to observe the SOPs. This has been the Viewpoint on West Nile Television. My name is Nieto Patricia, and our mandate is to light up the region. Catch me next Friday, same time, same station, and good night.
Thank you.